Today I'm going to be showing you guys my everyday makeup routine. I'm going to go in with the Eden brow pencil in dark brown. This brow pencil is really good and it's super affordable. They're literally $1 at the beauty supply store, and sometimes they're even two for $1 depending on the store. Once I have my natural brow underlined, I'm going to go in on the top, and I'm not going to bring that line all the way to the front as I did on the bottom. I'm only going to draw the line where my brow starts to be the thickest at, and I'm going to connect them two before I fill them in. Once I've drawn my brows to my liking, I'm going to go in with the Too Faced Born This Way Super Coverage Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer to go ahead and conceal and define them underneath. I'm using the Wet n Wild Small Concealer Brush, and I've mixed those two concealers on the back of my hand. The key to having good brows is to make sure that you're following your natural brow hairs. Like, you don't want to overdraw your brows and you don't want to underdraw them as well. You want to make sure you're going right under where your natural hairline on your brow starts to grow out. Once I am done defining my brow line with the light concealer, I'm going to go in with the concealer that I use over my face, which is the LA Pro Girl Concealer in Chestnut. And this is about maybe one shade lighter than my skin tone. I like to go in with this concealer on the lid and blend it upwards because it creates a more natural effect. I feel like when you do the highlighted color all over, it's too bright. So I'm going to take my e.l.f. Flawless Concealer Brush, and I'm going to use small patting motions, and I'm just going to blend those two concealers together. Once I have the base of my lids as smooth as possible, I like to take the excess that's left on the concealer brush and bring it up between my brows. And I do this so that it's like an even color. I don't like when I leave that blank and I have to go back in at the end and fill it in with concealer. It doesn't blend well. So now I'm going to take my Airspun Translucent Powder in Extra Coverage. And the brush that I'm using is from a BH Cosmetics set. I don't remember the sets, but I'm using that brush to just pat that on my lids and set that concealer. And then I'm going to go in with the Maybelline 360 Matte Fit Me Powder. And I'm going to use that to buff away the translucent powder. And that is so that I don't have any flashbacks. This step is not mandatory, but once I've gone in with my Maybelline 360 powder, I like to take the brown from the Crayon Case Box of Crayons palette and buff that over my lid space, adding some warmth back into it. Once I'm done with my lids, I'm going to prep my lashes with mascara before I go in with my Rich Extensions 25mm minks. And I do have on 2 pairs stacked. Unfortunately, I was out of the camera sight when I applied my lashes. So my next video, I will definitely make sure that I'm on camera for you guys to see how I apply my lashes. After I have done my little dance, I'm going to go in with the LA Pro Girl Concealer in Chestnut that I mentioned earlier. And I'm using that concealer to highlight underneath my eyes, the center of my chin, my upper lip, down the bridge of my nose, and the center of my forehead. Once I have my areas of highlight in place, I'm going to go in with the Black Radiance True Complexion Cream Contour in medium to dark. And I'm taking my e.l.f. small contour brush and I'm using that to swipe down the sides of my nose as well as my cheeks. Now that my contour and my highlight is in place, I'm going to take a dry disposable sponge and I'm going to use small patting motions to blend out my highlighted areas. I like to lay my concealer and contour this way because I feel like it gives a more naturally defined look and it's a good use of all of your product. I feel like when you lay down your foundation first and then go in with your concealer and your contour, you end up losing a lot of product that you could use. And makeup is not cheap, okay? Once I am done with my disposable sponge, I'm going to go back in with the e.l.f. Flawless Concealer Brush to blend out the center of my forehead. And then I'm using the e.l.f. Small Stipple Brush to blend out the cream contours of my cheeks. If you guys watched my first video, then you know that I don't blend out the cream contour down the bridge of my nose. I like to do that with a small fluffy brush because I feel like it gives a more evenly seamless blended nose contour. It doesn't leave any harsh lines. So here I'm just going back in with the e.l.f. small contour brush and I'm just applying a little bit more before I go in with my foundation. The foundation that I use is the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation, and I'm using the number 14. This foundation brush that I'm using is from a BH Cosmetics set. I don't know the name of the set, and I know you guys are probably tired of me saying I don't know the name of the BH Cosmetics sets, but they don't really have names. It's more so like based on the designs, so I guess that's why I don't know the names. But I'm going to use this brush to swipe underneath my contour to give a nice sharp contour, and then I'm going to take a little bit more foundation and use patting motions to blend out the outer edges, of my concealer, and I'm going to work my way up to my forehead. Once I have all of my foundation evenly applied, I'm going to go back in with that small stipple brush, and I'm just using the excess to add a little bit more contour that was lost in the foundation process. And then I'm going to take a fluffy blending brush from the Crayon Case brush set, and I'm taking a little bit of that foundation. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to blend out my contour down onto my concealer with this brush before I go back in with my disposable sponge and then set. Now that everything is all smooth over, I'm going to go in with that same powder from earlier, which is the Air Sponge Translucent Powder in Extra Coverage. And I'm going to apply that to my highlighted areas with the disposable sponge that I use to blend it out. Before I dust away my translucent powder, I like to go in and set my cream contour. So I'm going to go in with the Ruby Kisses Never Touch Up Matte Foundation in Ebony. And I'm using the same e.l.f. small stipple brush to go ahead and blend that out. Once I have the darkest shade applied, I'm going to go in with the MAC Fever blush. And I like to do this so that it adds a little bit more definition to my contour. Now that my contour is all set, I'm going to go in and dust away that translucent powder with the same brush and Maybelline 360 powder that I used earlier. This is going to make sure that I don't have any flashbacks in any of my pictures. Once I get to the powder that's right underneath my eye and on my nose contour, I like to go in with the e.l.f. stipple brush and just use the access powder to go ahead and set my nose contour. I don't like to go back in with the powder because then it just like looks really, really harsh. Now that all of the powder is gone, I'm going to go in with the Kiss Professionals Blush in Geranium to add warmth back into my face before I use my setting spray to set and then highlight. I like to apply my highlight with my face still wet because it just makes it stick a little bit more and it gives a really like exaggerated glowing effect. The highlighting powder that I'm going in with is the Crayon Case Loose Highlighter Powder in Anglola, and I'm using the e.l.f. highlighting brush, and I'm taking it on the apples of my cheeks and working its way back. And then I'm going to highlight the high points of my nose and the top of my lips. Once I have all my highlighter in place, I'm going to go in with a brown lip liner. I'm always a brown lip liner nude gloss combo kind of girl, so I'm going to go in with this brown lip liner from LA Colors, I believe. And then I'm using the Crayon Case lip gloss in Party Popper or something like that. I'm really bad at keeping up with the names of the products that I use, guys. But if I can find it, I'll leave it in the description box for you. This second lip gloss that I'm going to go in with is the Tarte lip gloss in Mermaids. And I like that it gives like this really iridescent glitter effect. And then to seal the deal, to make sure my lips are super glossy, I'm going to go in with a MAC clear lip gloss. And that is it. I am all done. And thanks you guys for tuning in. I'm going to upload some unfiltered, unedited pictures for you guys at the end of this video. Bye.